Why, hello there. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dictatorship, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, the new order as the United Mexican States. Now, last time we were here together, well, we officially announced the heir to Senor Lopez Mateos, who will be Mr. Carlos Madrazo. And it's going, I won't say it's going horribly right now. It's got some uphill battles to go with. I have no idea what this is going to really do. I'll be honest, this whole new GUI kind of fucking horrifies me. Alright, so we have construction, legacy, and perception. We could organize a rally. Let me do that. You could also help influential pre-members adjust to El Tapado. Let's do it. And we can also sell El Tapado to the public, which I don't know if it'll be too tough, but still. Anyway, let's go ahead. Alright, Tom McGarrel. There we go. Let's get to it. Welcoming the heir. His cheeks hurt as Lopez Mateo struggles to keep his smile. Hand raised in a wave towards all the guests as they arrange themselves outside to greet him and his entourage. Some flashes hit him from the right as the press worked to get their best shot. And they certainly got it as the group clapped loyally and shouted congratulations. Some were bold enough to put a name to their thanks beyond simple flattery, thanking him for cementing Mexico's place as an emerging global player, or ensuring that Mexico would be in a perfect position to show itself to the world when the Olympics finally arrived. He waved them all off with kind words in turn, enjoying the moments in the limelight, even as he knew the importance of what would be coming very soon. The men assembled here, with their wives and guests, were all members of the party. They were to be the first to receive the signal of what the next chapter in Mexican politics would be. With the press still gathered, Mateos took a step back to say a few words. Thank you for this generous reception you have all organized. It's been a long road these last few weeks. I can't say that I haven't grown homesick in the time I've spent away from here. You've all made it worth the effort it took, and I thank you. A series of applause followed his statement, and Mateos was sure to give a pause to allow them to finish, and to give the press ample time to see it. But he had other matters he had to attend to, and he gestured for Madrazo to step forward. The celebratory atmosphere of the reception calmed as he noticed the move, and Mateos kept his face as neutral as he could to hide the fear inching its way through him. That he might be making the wrong move, but it was too late as Madrazo stepped before the gathered party members. I would like to invite Madrazo to say a few words as well before we begin our dinner, Mateos explained before he stepped aside to give the other man to speak. To allow the other man to speak. The old gives way to the new. So I do want to point out, this is a very special video in the Mr. Dogboat 333 chronology. This is the first video that I'm recording at my new location. I have moved from my old house to a new place. And this is the first part I am ever recording. The first video I'm ever recording. The ever so iconic TNO, So Far From Gone Mexico Part 21. It's a big deal. Truly momentous occasion. And I know you all are losing your minds at being able to be here at this moment. And I don't blame you. This is pretty crazy. But yeah, I got my, I think I got everything set up pretty well, at least computer-wise. I still got to unpack a couple boxes, hang up clothes and such, but I got enough done to get my computer set up and get to recording. And so, here I am, and here we go. Oh, look at that. Today's Excellency, President Adolfo López Mateos and his President of the National Executive Committee of the Institutional Revolutionary Party, General Alfonso Corona del Rosal, announced that Licenciado Carlos Alberto Madrazo will be the party's candidate in the upcoming 1964 elections. Madrazo, the current governor of Tabasco, has a long history of working for the people's welfare. He was able to revive the state's public sector by extensively expanding infrastructure and investing in industry and agriculture. In Villahermosa, Madrazo held a speech in which he thanked the people of his state and encouraged them to look forward for a better future. Many government and party officials have announced their support for Madrazo's campaign. Polling shows an increase in the PRI's favorability. Oh, there we go. Very, very nice. Nice sip of water, and let's get back to it. Oh, Adolf Hitler's died. Look at that. Oh, we're gonna have another fucking mechanic, Jesus. President López Mateos knew his days were numbered, and the old statesman began to ponder his legacy. The land distribution, expansion of healthcare, housing, and education. His overtures to the Caribbean, the careful balancing of superpower interests, or sometimes harsh measures towards dissent. Whatever it may be, López Mateos did it all for Mexico's future, for his children, for her children and families. Us people, which, like the rest of the world, lies under the nuclear sword of Damocles. While López Mateos cannot hope to control the apocalyptic stockpiles of superpowers, he will do his part to make sure that Mexico does not partake in this charade. That is why today he signed the declaration for the prohibition of nuclear weaponry in Mexico. The frail president cannot give bombastic speeches like he used to, his energy dwindling. Though today, he stands in front of Congress and the Mexican people, proud to show one of his final acts, calling upon the rest of Latin America to follow in Mexico's footsteps. This declaration must not only act in our interest in upholding our values and human rights, it must also serve as an example to all our Latin American brothers. I challenge them to follow suit in the quest for human posterity, by means of commitment to nuclear non-proliferation and the prohibition of such destructive weapons. López Mateos, thin with hair, white as snow, staggered off stage, but the message rang clearer than ever. Mexico would commit to prohibition of nuclear weapons. The first nation to do so in Latin America, an example set for others to follow. While his fate drew ever closer, López Mateos will make sure the same cannot be said for Mexico. An important step, if only a symbolic one. To a less confident man than Carlos Madrazo, the journey from Jesus Reyes Arolas' front door to his office would have been intimidating, not because of the man himself, who had warmly greeted the pre-presidential candidate, now ushered him politely onward, but because of the books. Dense law tomes, railway manuals, worn copies of healthcare policy, recommendations, histories from Mexico and across the world. Dry exhortations of industrialization, the crowning heights of Spanish-language literature and political philosophy stood neatly arranged in bookcases up to the duo's shoulders. Their spines cast a muted rainbow around Madrazo, who noted that many were written by Reyes Arolas himself. The office beyond on the wall was just as full of books, and far more full of photographs. A quick glance showed Reyes Arolas laughing with his fellow congressmen, speaking serenely in a rally, signing copies of his opus, Mexican Liberalism, and playing with his two young sons. Jesus bade Madrazo sit, but the candidate shook his head. You may have guessed why I've come, Licenciado. To govern well, I will need skilled managers, popular politicians, and those with a deep commitment to reconnecting the PRI to the Mexican people and the values of the revolution. I will need your support and want you to head our party as president of the CEN. Reyes rolls his eyes widened briefly in surprise before meeting Madrazo with determination. I would be eager to join you in reforming our party and our nation. A thinker and a doer, you must prepare the party for the transformation ahead. Well, let's go ahead and mold the institution. Our party of the Leviathan is a gargantuan beast, spanning the vast ideological, regional, and personal divides that cut across these united Mexican states. Factionalism and rivalries run rampant, with the general self-interest of thousands of greedy stomachs driving the morass forward. López Mateos sits atop this behemoth, but the reins have gone limp. But as his time in the saddle comes to an end, our president will dig in the spurs. With the weight of the party's National Executive Committee, or CEN, and his personal reprimands, he will make sure that the infighting that characterizes the secession process is no longer acceptable. The three must unite: corporations, militancy, governors, manistas, and cardenistas, all behind the tapado. There will be no splits. There will be no dissension. The full party power of this mighty steed will be placed into the tapado's waiting hands. Well, there we go. Let's do it. There we go. Oh shit, Steve survived. Look at that. Time to order a copy. Serbian National Uprising. Look at that too. And there goes the Civil War. So it begins. Lazaro Cardenas rolled down the window, leaving the cascade of songs, cheers, and jubilant honks reverberate around the cab. The Federal District hadn't been this joyous, this alive, since his nationalization of the old industry so many years before. It was alive because Adolf Hitler was dead, with his crumbling colossus soon to follow. As several disfigured effigies paraded past, Cardenas paid his fare and tipped the driver. His farewell was unheard behind a celebratory crackle of anti-gunfire and petardos. As he pushed his inking joints along the raucous and gridlocked streets, the general thought back to the night he could have had, entertaining MLN colleagues and retiring early to bed. But no, an impulse drove him forward. The silence and stillness of the Pantheon Frances greeted the former president, who wended his way to a familiar headstone. He kneeled, knees popping, behind the remains of Manuel Avila Camacho. After a moment, he spoke. It's been almost 10 years now, old friend. Most days now, I think the wrong one of us is standing. This country is more yours than mine, Manuel. A stable one at peace with the Yankees, the church, and itself. They certainly made use of a social dissolution of yours, even they forget the peasant they say they're protecting. But I cannot put that on you. You who fought by my side in Jalisco, Michoacan. You knew what the revolution was. What it meant. No. That's not why I'm here today. I'm here because you, a general of a revolution, and a president of our nation, did nothing. Nothing as beasts roamed the earth, our nation spared only by the Atlantic. Nothing as our sailors, struck by German torpedoes, drowned in oil. Nothing as the world lost its only chance to put down that madman. For that, I will never forgive you. And Cardenas spat on Camacho's grave. Damn. Alright, I need to take another look exactly to figure out what the fuck. So we pull these little levers. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Molded the institution. Next, we have something in Puebla to worry about first, so we can't do that. So we have two choices. Could drive away the specters, or we could do where skies and sea join. Oh, when you hover over it does a sparkle thing. That's cool. Okay, they all do a little glow up thing. Holy shit. I don't know if this is a normal feature or not. I think this is just a normal little feature, but there's that little glisten on that one, and that is very cool. Whew! That is shiny. Oh, these both are shiny. Is that just because you could select them? It might just be because you're able to select them. Honestly, that's kind of my bet. Let's go down this first part first. Driving away the specters. The rural poor of Mexico, while decreasing over the past years due to literacy programs, disease eradication, and land reform efforts, still make up an uncomforting share of the nation's population. Though great strides have been taken, and successors are being considered, we mustn't sit idly by while poverty infests the countryside of Mexico. Inaction in a time like this would prove fatal to the already tenuous regime, so making moves against rural poverty would let the people know that we carry the ideas of revolution, ensuring our continued electoral popularity. I don't think that's what's ensuring continued electoral popularity, but it's probably a good idea to do it that anyway. So, mass production methods. It takes quite a bit of time to do that. Think of anything else to do? Oh, let's do radar. The Sonoran Sierra is a land of many tales. Some are tales of history spoken by the Yankee, or Yaqui. I'm not sure if it's misspelling Yankee or Yaqui. Some are spoken by the Yaqui, so that the valor and the suffering of their ancestors are never forgotten. They tell of a line drawn in the sand at a first meeting. The Spanish crossed and blood was shed. They tell of a brief peace as the Jesuit introduced them to the Lord, their God. But then the miners came. They crossed the line, and God spared neither Yaqui nor intruder from the war that followed. After Mexico's independence, fresh assaults were unprepared for the line. They would tell of the worst trespass of Porfirio Diaz, who, for his mines and farms, would wage war upon them. Under the Yaqui's great hero, Cajeme. They fought back, but betrayal would kill Cajeme, and their people were decimated. A quarter dead, half who remained sold as slaves to the Yucatan. Far from home, their forebears were murdered by the lash, hunger, and despair. The revolution came to Sonora, and the Yaqui could, for a moment, redraw the line. They tell of Cardenas, who, as a general, would subjugate the Yaqui amidst the chaos. They tell of how Obregón perverted the promise of the revolution with his discriminatory laws. Now Rodolfo Calles, governor of Sonora, would end that promise forever. He expelled the Yaqui from their rightful land, murdering those who opposed him. Cardenas would create a government department for the indigenous peoples, but he did not restrain Calles. And the department did not bring back the dead. The revolution did not restore the line. So when the new tales arrived, tales of guerrilla fighters taking up arms in neighboring Chihuahua, the Yaqui listened. Soon, their own tale would be told. Okay, said I had an extra production unit, and now it's telling me I don't. That sure is something. Hector hung up his coat in Ramon's hallway, greeting him with a firm handshake as Elena trailed off behind and offered cheek kisses. Good to see you as always, you two. Sit down with me. Get that Japanese whiskey from the cabinet. We'll wet our whistles. A bottle of Yamakaze stood in the cupboard. Hector twisted the cap off and poured out 2 tumblers worth for himself and Ramon. Elena made do with a glass of Californian Merlot. Hector hovered over the table with his drink raised. Not once at Elena, then Ramon. A toast to Carlos Madrazo. Ramon thumped the table as Elena offered muted smiles. Hector swigged, then tapped his fingers. We'll do very well with Madrazo in charge. You saw we did in Tabasco, Ramon. If you can bring that success to the rest of the country, the people of Morelos are going to eat good. Peasants and officials alike. It's looking on the up, certainly. Ramon's words trailed as he polished off his glass. You know what? After that Hector noticed Elena's scowl and quickly went to correct himself. After Lopez Avalar's term, lapses, I think you've got a chance, Ramon. Governor Delgado Gil, righting the wrongs of 58. Ramon held up a hand, quietly hiccuping into his fist. I'm not ready yet. The term after, maybe, but you need to look at the bigger picture. He leaned over, all sluggish, clasping Hector on the shoulder. President Madrazo will enrich everyone, Morelos, including the CNC. The two traded, knowing looks and sly winks. I forgot. Warsaw Uprising. Poland just won with no issue there. Look at that. I'll feel like a goddamn hero. A real man. Facundo Ortiz bellowed. That'll show you, you fucking Bolsheviks. He rather unimaginably jeered at the fleeing students, carrying away those he had made unable to walk. Calming down for the next engagement, Facundo wiped the blood off his brow. Thank God and Mary, it isn't obvious on my shirt, he murmured, entering the cafe where the next appointment was. Two plainclothes police officers, his classmates from school, were taking their ease, polishing off bowls of carne and sujugo so barbarically that Facundo wouldn't have guessed them for officers if he hadn't already known. Holm looked up just long enough to point with his eyes to an inconspicuous suit-clad man before returning to massacring his lunch. The man nodded almost imperceptibly. As Facundo sat down, the man handed him an envelope which he gracefully accepted. Got something else for you too, Mr. Ortiz. Thanks for your service so far, but there's more. Oh? Go on. If some more of his, communists and socialists have something unfortunate happen to them, we could see our way forward to a swifter release for your colleagues in Los Tecos. Nodding appreciatively, Facundo shook on it. That I can't arrange, he said, taking his leave. Next on Ortiz's Rolodex, guarding a P&M patriotic rally. Formation of the Africa Shield. The car jolted as it went over a pothole. This meet and greet at Oaxaca was doing no favors for Lopez Mateos' backside nor for the car's suspension. The unpaved roads reminded him that despite being in the same nation, the people of Oaxaca lived an entirely different life from the people of Mexico City. Looking outside the tinted windows, the land and people of Oaxaca were entirely untouched by the Mexican Revolution. They lived in the same squalor as their parents and their parents before them. People carried carts via horsepower or by hand, with mules being more likely to occupy the roads than a car. Despite the rampant poverty that surrounded him, he thought to himself it must have been worse prior to his term. Fewer children on the streets and more were now in school, with those children now having textbooks of their own rather than needing to share the same books that have been passed down through the years. Some progress was being made, but not enough. Lopez Mateos gripped the car's seat to help cushion him against all the jerking of the car. He made a mental note of what ought to be done to uplift the poor. The people whose name the revolution was carried out are now being neglected. Though he put a dent in the dilapidation of the poor states, there was more to be done by the end of his term and beyond to finish the job. In the middle of the thought, the car hit another pothole and jounced, forcing Lopez Mateos' head to collide with the roof. First, we need to fix these damn roads. Yeah, great. Hey, Lester, I didn't mean to click ya. I'll recruit a guy. Let's go Conasupo and Anag. Beginning in 1961, the Mexican government of Lopez Mateos created the Conasupo, Compañía Nacional de Subsistencias Populares, to reliably feed the people of Mexico and keep prices low, particularly for those impoverished families who struggle to keep food on the table. Conasupo has worked alongside another governmental program, ANAG, Aseguradora Nacional Agrícola y Ganadera, which has ensured and protected the food supply from vulnerabilities. In totality, the two programs have significantly reduced malnourishment and food poverty within the country. Still, there is much that needs to be done, especially as Mexicans feel the full force of the Kabuki effect. The government has recognized this, and a consensus has arisen around the need to grant additional funding to these programs. It may be costly, but it will provide the support the people need in these times, as well as bringing great return in the future. After all, you can't work on an empty stomach. I mean, you can, probably shouldn't, but you can. I mean, not so much after a while, but... Alright, let's get some more of those coins. Coins! Shout out to, Bruno, how do you say his last name? If you know, you know. We'll do subsidize some more mechanization in Yucatan. Tone down that ugly red color. Well, there's Konosuba relief. There we go. Employment. Okay, unemployment does like selectively well in some places, and in others it's, well, it's kind of on the upturn everywhere. What helps with the unemployment again? No, I have to go back here, right? Right here, right. I think that ought to do well for it. And now we're out of political power, so we'll just relax. The Electoral Law of 1963 had conquered newsstands across the country. Headlines roared, "Electoral Law strengthens democracy. Pre makes room for opposition. And your vote matters more than ever." Even the pan-affiliated newspaper The Nation offered rare praise for the reform, albeit with a focus on Khrushchev's role in its creation. If eyes descended below those headlines, however, they'd encounter a more complex picture. Previous regionally based systems was maintained, but now some seats in the Chamber of Deputies would be filled by parties in proportion to the votes they received. Astute readers might believe that two of these of the three parties to benefit were effectively controlled by the Pre, only existing to engage with the far left in quixotic electoral ventures. Others might claim that the PAN, the only true opposition, would be in no position to challenge the Pre, even should they receive the maximum of 20 seats provided for under the new rules. But why listen to those shrill voices when millions of Mexicans go about their day, content that big block letters proclaim their democracy is fair and just? I just read it for the comics. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's also not good. I was looking at this. With the votes of all 60 institutional Revolutionary Party senators, 170 congressmen, and the 5 National Action Party congressmen, and the Congress of Unions unanimously passed a constitutional amendment strengthening the access of opposition parties to the federal legislature. In any subsequent legislative elections, minority parties winning at least 2.5% of the national vote will be awarded 5 seats automatically, receiving 5 seats more for each addition of 0.5% of the vote, which they receive, up to a total of 20 seats. This landmark piece of legislation has given new representation to the diverse voices of our government. Our country is a powerful symbol of our government's commitment to Mexico and democracy. We never will be proud of how far we've come. Right, I'm sure there's no asterisks there. There's Nordstern. There's Milorg. Oh shit, Norway kind of has a big old focus tree now, doesn't it? I didn't realize that. Interesting. Often ratifies Security Resolution 13. Some more civilian factories going. There goes the British Civil War. Scorpion's dissolution. Ah, there we go. Transnistria War. We'll go ahead and do one. Or get one more focus started. Checking on the 11-year plan. In 1959, Lopez Mateos and his government set out an ambitious 11-year plan to drastically improve Mexico's education system, ensure the widespread access to education amongst the populace, compromise various measures including free textbooks, free lunches, the construction of new schools, particularly in remote areas, expanding the number of teachers, and increasing their pay. These measures, if successful, would radically change the composition of Mexico's workforce and help with the country's modernization. The plan now has entered its 4th year, and the president wants to see its fruits. Statistics only paint part of the picture. Books can, after all, be cooked. Lopez Mateos wishes to visit these schools to witness the changes for himself, determine whether the policy is working correctly, and make changes if necessary. Well, start of the month. Well, here we go. 7%. Ooh. Lazaro Cardenas, Gilberto Rincon, and the rest of the movement for the national liberation were dizzy with success. After going public with their plans to challenge the CNC with the creation of the Independent Peasant Central, or CCI, the ranks began to swell at incredible pace. The real sign of success was when the priests started to take them seriously. Organizations were broken up and closeted skeletons came to light. Yet the movement marched on, encouraging Cardenas and his supporters. Soon Cardenas spent much of his time speaking to Mexican peasants who were signing up for both the MLN and the CCI in droves. They spoke about how they felt seen by Cardenas and his organization. They told him how they were happy to see the true spirit of the Mexican Revolution live on. However, there's one topic that made Cardenas uneasy: elections. Many Mexican peasants expected and hoped that the MLN would contest the upcoming elections. Every time Cardenas gave them a canned response about how it was still too early to make such decisions. Internally, though, he was worried. He did not see the MLN as ready for such an act, and yet the supporters he did have were beginning to grow expectations. Nothing's more dangerous than expectations. Look how where those fucking expectations are getting us. Telegram for the ambassador. Octavio Paz, sat as an attaché, came in and left an envelope on his oak desk. He peeled it open. Office of the Governor of Tabasco via Western Union International. Sincerely, Carlos Madrazo. Warm wishes, ambassador. Stop. Meeting requested at earliest convenience. Stop. Discuss policy matters. Stop. Expenses already taken care of. Paz tongued his teeth. It had only been a few days since he heard of a cyclone's candidacy and courtesy of the wireless. Discuss policy. He was being offered something. But as a position on the cabinet, he couldn't think of anything else would it warrant the trouble of his recall. The real question was if he, as ambassador in Mexico to the Republic of India, prolific author, poet, and intellectual, should accept the summons. He cracked open the window and helped himself to a cigarette, holding the telegram with his free hand as smoke billowed from his mouth. He had been very productive as a writer during his time as ambassador, though the actual work itself was nightmarish. Calcutta and Delhi were constantly at loggerheads, and he did not relish the constant soothing of egos, honey words, false pretenses, and tough negotiation diplomacy. What troubled Paz more about Madrazo's offer was his own constant belief, espoused so often in writing, that intellectuals such as himself should distance themselves from politics. Keeping an objective perspective was important, but he could not sit idly by and endlessly critique power when he had the opportunity to use it to create the freer, fair Mexico that only existed in his fleeting dreams. He picked up the telephone. International call, please. And I'm going to go ahead and leave things there. But I thank you all always for watching, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like this video if you liked, dislike if you didn't. Leave any comments or feedback down in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get, and I do appreciate any and all feedback you may have for me. Check out my various links down in the script box below. Leaving comments or feedback down in the comment section below as well. I read all of them. I appreciate any and all feedback you may have for me. Check out my various links. Hit the sub button notification bell. Loads weekdays as well as occasionally Saturdays. And yeah, that's going to be it for now, my friends. Thanks always for watching. My name has been Mr. Dictatorship 333, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye now.